The name and identity of the Tulsa shooter is released, and, well, I hate to say it, but that one's getting swept on the rug in a hurry. But, a little bit closer to home, 2 more shootings rock the country in rural America at this point. One in a neighboring street and one right down the road from me. So we'll talk just a bit about what's happening with that and where that goes. Biden gets up and decides he needs to give a speech in which he calls for, once again, the ban of the evil, scary assault-type rifle. So we'll talk just a bit about the speech and watch some clips from that as well. Amazon employees protest the sale of books that they say are anti-trans, and then to call conservatives the ones who are burning books. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on with that. And Michigan GOP candidates are blocked from the ballot because signature match is suddenly now a thing. It is going to be all this and more. Welcome to midterm season. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, Edheads. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and we have got another mess of news today. So we got to get right into it as quick as we can. It's going to be a big one, especially because I have so many questions about this right now. We had 2 in 12 hours. The day after we had another one. 9 days after we had the one in Uvalde, which was 13 days after Buffalo. In the midst of an election season that Democrats are slated to lose horrifically, I'm sorry, I don't want to take any of this at face value, but if you're here, if you're watching this program, then you know that I had taken nothing at face value. I look at this, especially when we have the coinkiest of the goddamn dinks, and say, what the fuck? I'm sorry, AM radio listeners, which we're not on the AM radio right now, but, you know, this is what I'm trying to compete with right now, is to get people away from the AM radio. But I'm sorry, that one has to fly. What the absolute ever-loving fuck? So, we're going to get into it. It's crazy one, and to think, you know, Kenosha, Racine, these places are suddenly cropping up, popping up in the news all of a sudden, and they were largely forgotten. Unless you were watching Home Alone or A League of Their Own, you pretty much didn't know that those 2 cities even existed, in spite of the fact they're some of the biggest cities in Wisconsin. You knew Madison, Milwaukee, Green Bay, you knew those ones because of sports, but... And now it's crazy, we're getting into these. Plus, Ames, Iowa, really? This is what we're going to do? And I don't even know anything about that. That cropped up on a cursory look over to Instagram this morning before I got out of bed. I'm like, what happened here? Iowa? Really? So we'll be talking about that. We'll talk about some of the midterm stuff. We're going to see what we can get through before 9:30. Plus, keep in mind, if you've got something to say and you really want it read on the air, today's the day to do so. I have the names of everybody who chatted in the live chat throughout the week written down in the handy-dandy notebook here. And we'll be going through what you're saying today, too, including reading back some of what you guys are saying. Do keep in mind, I am trying to compete with the... With the AM radio folks, so be somewhat courteous if you can, but, you know, that's the new stated goal of what we have going on here, so try not to get me kicked off YouTube, but I understand. You guys are having fun too, so let's get into it. But before we do, make sure you guys go check out the the programs for Turns of Pages Productions. Once we get up launched, we will be carrying great shows such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Breckenhoff, The Already Conservative, and The Porch Boys. Go check out all those shows. They're all great friends to the program. They're great friends to culture. They're great friends to liberty. And go and check them out. They're just all around awesome guys. So definitely go and hang out with them. Most of them stream live at least once a week. I know Porch Boys are going to be on again tonight with Tower Gang. I have no idea who those people are, but go check that out. Birkenhoff, I got asked in the live chat yesterday what happened with Birkenhoff. He's probably really busy with school because keep in mind, it's senior year for him right now, but definitely go and check that out. Check out all those programs. They're all great, awesome programs. And if you want to help us get started, there's always that GiveSendGo, givesendgo.com/turnsofpages101 if you guys want to come back and help out. Let's get into the finance for the morning. Starting with the Dow. Let's get that up here. The Dow spent its day upwards. It kind of stumbled across in the beginning, and then it rose itself back up, which means, the seniors who are sitting here on a fixed income that are usually tied to the Dow, they're doing okay right now. But, the question that I always have here, especially with the lack of jobs that we have out here, the lack of people that are going to work, is how much longer can this hold up? We're looking at this right now, and it just seems like an unsustainable cycle of not enough people going out to work and contributing into a 401k with these numbers continuing to grow and grow and grow. And I do understand that some of this is because the points that we see are tied to the dollar, which means that this is tied to inflation, which means the Dow is probably not as valuable as it was all the way back in 2019, 2020. In spite of what we're seeing for the numbers here, but that is what we will continue to see. That's what we're going to watch. Let's look into the Bitcoin. The Bitcoin is at $29,723 US dollars and 90 US cents. That is a $705 drop per coin overnight from midnight on to today at 2.32% down. Let's bring that back out to the 5-day and see what happened throughout the day yesterday. And it looked like it was on a regular trajectory upward. A little bit of a drop here and there, but then just the bottom fell out once again, and we're back at the dip. But, you know me. I'm a big advocate for buy the dip because this is the one, especially this one, where Soccer Mom America's like, Bitcoin, that's the safe one. That's the one that they talk about on TV. I can maybe make some money off of that, and it's still all safe and wonderful and warm, and they're going to regulate it too. So if you need to have one, that's the one that you probably want to look at here. This is not official financial advice. Of course, always check with your financial advisor before making any sort of cryptocurrency purchase or investment. But when I look at it, I'm probably going to throw another $20 at it while it's at the lowest point again. So adjust your level of risk accordingly and go check into it. Speaking of your level of risk, let's look in at the gas, which is not good news. Your low price leader in the Madison area is at $4.34. That is at the Quick Trip in Madison. The Costco in Sun Prairie is up to $4.35. The Mobile's at $4.38. BP in Sun Prairie is at $4.39. Cenex in Sun Prairie is at $4.39, which that's what we see until we start to move down here where up in Portage, which is far out of the Madison area, but still worth noting, is to $4.45. The BP in Waunakee, which is closer to the Madison area, is at $4.45. And the Ironwood Drive Quick Trip in Sun Prairie is at $4.54. And as we've noticed, because we've been watching this now for a few months as the gas prices have continued to climb, when the one jumps up, the rest of them are soon to follow. So I do anticipate within the next 10 days, we'll start to see all of these up to that $4.54 mark. So that's what we'll continue to watch, and that's what we'll continue to see as we go. Let's see what IBD has to say for the morning. Dow futures fall. Super bad Elon Musk warning his Tesla. Market rally awaits jobs report from Ed Carson. The Dow fell solidly Friday morning, along with the S&P and the NASDAQ, with the May jobs report on tap. Tesla CEO Elon Musk reportedly has frozen hiring and wants to cut 10% of staff amid super bad economic concerns. Tesla stock fell on Friday after a solid bounce on Thursday. Apple fell modestly as the European Union moves towards legislation on a common charger standard, possibly as soon as June 7th. Apple reportedly has been testing future iPhone models that would replace its Lightning charging port with the more common USB-C connector. Man, that would be nice, actually. The stock market rally had a strong Thursday, shrugging off a Microsoft profit warning, and the Fed's #2 official signaling big rate hikes will continue through September. Flex LNG, Howmet Aerospace, AAR Corp, Enphase Energy, and Zim Integrated Shipping are nearby points. Flex LNG, AAR, Howmet Aerospace cleared early buy points Thursday, while Enphase broke out. Zim stock is setting up. That statistical point, that always trips me up there because they interchange between the stock symbol and the company name. And, a stock symbol doesn't do anything for you when you're just listening, so. And it always trips me up because I always try to put the stock name instead of the symbol to it for you guys. Tesla cuts jobs on super bad Musk concerns. Tesla is freezing hiring and needs to cut staff by about 10%. Elon Musk sent an internal email, according to Reuters. That would be almost 10,000 jobs. Whoa! That actually blows me away a little bit, I'm not going to lie. That level of jobs, that number of people that work for Tesla, and they say, well, this is just a little thing. Musk said that he had a super bad feeling about the economy. The email sent to executives Thursday was titled, "Pause all hiring worldwide." Earlier this week, Musk said employees should no longer work remotely as ramping up staff in the past couple of years. That comes despite Tesla opening 2 new factories in the past few months, and with the Shanghai plant finally ramping up towards capacity after COVID-related restrictions. Tesla fell 5% before Friday's opening. No shit. Because all that's going to do is flash a signal to your investors saying, sell, sell, sell. Tesla doesn't think he can hold up in the economy. Sell, sell, sell. Tesla stock bounced 4.7% in Thursday's market rally. EV makers such as Xpeng were among Thursday's winners. MongoDB and UiPath flying on earnings. All these names still need a lot of repair work. China EV and battery giant BYD recorded record May sales. On track to seize Tesla's EV crown in the second quarter, BYD rose solidly, moving towards all-time highs. On the jobs report, the labor market will release the May jobs report at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Economists expect non-farm payrolls to raise by 325,000 after April's 428,000. The jobless rate should dip to 3.5%, with hourly earnings up 0.4% in April. The May jobs report follows Thursday's ADP employment report, estimating that private payrolls rose just 128,000, far below views, with small firms cutting 91,000 jobs. So, if your non-farm payrolls rose by 325,000, if your private payrolls, your new jobs created, went down from 91,000, where do you think you're going to find 325,000 jobs? Better question, why are you calling 0.4% hourly earnings up as a victory? Inflation goes up 0.6 every month. And 8+ year over year. Where do you think you're going to find this money? And why are you calling this a victory lap? The Federal Reserve wants to see substantial cooling in the labor market to curb inflation and inflation expectations. But a half-point rate hike at the mid-June Fed meeting is baked in. Policymakers will get several months of economic data before changing course or speed. On the futures, Dow futures fell 0.5% versus fair value. S&P dropped almost a full percent, 0.8%, and the Nasdaq fell 1.2%. Apple is a Dow Jones, S&P, and Nasdaq Titan. Tesla is a big S&P and Nasdaq 100 component. I thought Tesla got kicked off the S&P. Apparently not. Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. So that's what we see coming off of that. Let's grab one from Barron's. The Dow is slipping, Tesla is sliding, and what else is happening in the stock market today? From Joel Wolfel. The market was dropping ahead of the May report, which contains hints about inflation and the Federal Reserve's plan for interest rate increases. Futures for the Dow Jones Industrial have fallen 116 points, or 0.4%. The S&P was down 0.6%, and the Nasdaq has dropped 0.9%. This is from last night. Economists are expecting the U.S. economy to have added 328,000 jobs in May. More jobs added and higher wages are signs of a strong economy, but the wrinkle has to do with inflation. If the jobs number comes in too far ahead of expectations, it means more people are earning incomes and inflation could remain closer to its recent peak. And if wages rise too quickly, it could mean companies will continue to raise prices at a fast clip to protect their profit margins. If markets expect inflation to remain too close to its peak, they'll also expect the Fed to act more quickly in hiking rates. It's been declining inflation expectations and hopes that the Fed could slow down the pace of its rate hikes. That have enabled the S&P to gain almost 10% from its intraday low of the year hit on May 20th through Thursday's close. But that makes Friday's jobs reports pivotal. Bottom line, future Fed policy remains one of the key influences on this market, and this jobs report will help determine if the Fed stays not as hawkish as feared. It's been for the past 2 weeks, or we resume the trend of each month bringing a more hawkish Fed, writes Tom Essay, founder of Sevens Report Research. Look, here's the problem with this. The big problem with this is if you raise the rate hike, most people who start a business don't have the cash to go back out and do that. Most of them do have to take out a small loan to do so. Now, this is great for the big employers who want to maybe try to bring some of their jobs back in because they're afraid of the supply chain issue, and they can afford to just pay cash to start a new division or start a new factory or create a new job. But most of the people who are competing against them, trying to make a better product, trying to make things better for themselves and for their communities, and maybe even take the big boys, the big billionaire class, as Bernie Sanders likes to say, down a peg, they can't compete, especially with rate hikes being where they're at. And if the Fed has to keep doing this, this is not good news. As much as Barron's and IBD try to like to tell us that, oh, this is going to cool down the inflation. Well, this is going to cool down the ability for people to get jobs too. So do keep that in mind as we go. And we've got to get into the main news of the day. We're going to start with Tulsa today. And some details have been released about that shooting. And I'm going to tell you right now, the shooting's going to be swept under the rug. Miss Maisie Girl tweets out, now deceased suspect in Tulsa shooting is a black male, 35 to 40 years old. We can now expect the media will stop covering the shooting due to this description of the perp. I hate to come back out and say it, but she is not wrong.
The suspect, we do not have an identity. That we believe we're getting close on the identity of the suspect. He is a black male, estimated to be 35 to 40 years old. And the suspect, we do not have an identity. That we believe we're getting close on the identity of the suspect. He is a black male, estimated to be 35 to 40 years old. And the suspect, we do not have an identity. That we believe we're getting.
Black male, 35 to 40 years old. Yep, that one's going away. But let's look into some of this as well. From the New York Post, Tulsa gunman Michael Lewis targeted doctor who had operated on him, according to the cops. From Joshua Rhett Miller, a deranged gunman with a rifle and a handgun who killed 4 people at an Oklahoma medical building targeted a doctor who previously operated on him and anyone who got in his way, authorities said on Thursday. The gunman, identified as Michael Lewis, opened fire at around 5 p.m. Wednesday at an orthopedic office on the second floor of the Natalie Medical Building at St. Francis Health System in Tulsa, Police Chief Wendell Franklin told reporters at a press conference. Lewis, 45, of Muskogee, went to the hospital on May 19th for back surgery, which was performed by Dr. Preston Phillips Lewis. Lewis was released on May 24th, Franklin said. Lewis proceeded to call several times to complain of pain and sought additional treatment. He then saw Phillips on Tuesday and called the doctor's office again on Wednesday seeking additional help, Franklin said. It is unclear what sort of help Lewis was seeking. Well, I hate to say it, but it kind of sounds like he definitely needed some help. A webpage on St. Francis' website identified Phillips as a board-certified orthopedic surgeon specializing in spinal surgery and joint reconstruction. He also worked as the team doctor for the WNBA team that Tulsa Shock before they moved to Dallas. The squad confirmed. About an hour before the shooting, Lewis legally bought a semi-automatic AR-15 style rifle from a local gun store and purchased a semi-automatic handgun on May 29th from a local pawn shop. Franklin had said. Police recovered dozens of spent shell casings from the shooting scene, as well as a letter penned by Lewis that made it clear he intended to kill Phillips and anyone who got in his way following the surgery that he claimed had left him ailing, Franklin said. Oh, he left an intent note. He killed himself and left an intent note. Oh, it just happened. Hey, let's do a handwriting check on that, shall we? Oh, and you say that he just bought the rifle? Right before this happened? Oh! Are you saying this goes against the narrative? He blamed Dr. Phillips for the ongoing pain following the surgery, Franklin told reporters. In addition to Phillips, Franklin identified Wednesday's shooting victims as Dr. Stephanie J. Hewson, receptionist Amanda Glenn, and William Love, who was a patient at the clinic. They stood in the way and Lewis gunned them down, Tulsa's cops said. He began firing at anyone who was in his way. Lewis took his own life following the rampage, authorities said. Oh, so he can't be questioned? He managed to get inside the facility via a second-floor garage where he parked before he worked his way into the building, Franklin said. Investigators on Thursday were looking into whether police had any prior contact with Lewis. A woman who lives just a few doors away from Lewis, his wife, and their teen daughters in Muskogee told the Post that the family had been in the neighborhood for roughly 5 years. Lewis's wife, whom the neighbor identified as Dr. Edith Lubin, and her daughters are church-going religious people, according to the neighbor, who requested that their name not be published. But I've never spoken to them, the woman said of Lewis. They've been quiet, good neighbors. Is this a fall guy? I always have to ask that question when we see something like this. Like, this is... and do understand that as working as a mechanic for as long as I did before I came off the floor, I understand the problems that back pain can give you. I've never been in so much back pain that I felt to go this direction, but I do understand, especially constant chronic back pain. I don't have it anymore, thankfully, but I understand where that comes and what happens with that. But this is a person who would not normally go back and do something like this. And this, just like Uvalde, and hell, just like Buffalo, the more I learn about this, the more questions I have. Because something doesn't fucking math here. Sorry, AM radio listeners. Dang it. Man, I gotta get better at that. Skip this one because this is the same review of what's in the New York Post article. I want to touch on this Daily Beast one just because this gives a little bit more of the timeline. I know. The crime of knowing everything that you know about something from a Daily Beast article. Whom do we know that could apply to? Tulsa gunman ranted to a surgeon, then bought rifle 3 hours before hospital massacre. So distraught. The angled tagline off of this. I hate the Daily Beast. I really do. From Noah Kirsch and Justin Rorlick. Last month, Michael Lewis had an operation on his back, but the pain had become too much more to bear, he claimed. And when an enraged Lewis couldn't find relief, he blamed the man trying to help, his doctor. Such a horrible way that they write this. Such a clickbaity way that they write this. My God. Police said Lewis fatally shot 2 orthopedists, a medical receptionist, a bystander, and then himself at a medical office in Tulsa, Oklahoma on Wednesday afternoon using a semi-automatic rifle that he had just bought 3 hours before from a local gun store. Lewis, a 45-year-old resident of Muskogee, had roots in the New Jersey and also went by Michelet Louis, his family told the Daily Beast. We're so distraught, Lewis's niece texted earlier Thursday morning. She asked not to be named at the story, citing the heinous nature of the crime. I don't even want to be associated, she told the Daily Beast, emphasizing that the family does not condone violence of any kind. We are aware that he has been experiencing back pain for a long time, but there is no reason for this senseless act, she said. We're a Christian-based family. We have never experienced this before. Dr. Preston Phillips, an orthopedic surgeon who performed Lewis's back surgery, was killed. Tulsa Police Chief Wendell Franklin said at a press conference on Thursday Lewis had been released from the hospital on May 24th, but continued to complain that he was in pain, according to Franklin. He called to complain several times over several days, Franklin said, including on Wednesday, the day of the shooting, when he called Dr. Phillips' office again, complaining of back pain and wanting additional assistance. Then at 2 p.m. the same day, Lewis purchased the AR-style rifle from a local gun store. He took it to the hospital along with a .40 caliber Smith & Wesson semi-auto that he had bought on May 29th from an area pawn shop, Franklin said. So, he had just purchased these armaments. Within the last 5 days. Within 4 days of when this happened. I'm curious if he owned any armaments before this. He went to the pawn shop, bought a gun, which I don't know how much legality is of that in Oklahoma law. But he went to the pawn shop and he bought a gun. 5 days after being released from the hospital and complaining about back pain. From a church-going family that's very religious, who believes that suicide is the ultimate sin. And then he mysteriously was able, and then went out and got the rifle that's on everybody's tongue. He got the rifle the government wanted to ban, even though he already had the pistol that was concealable. And went and did this. And then committed the ultimate sin that can't be forgiven for, self-murder. Man, do I have questions. From Care 11, out of Minneapolis, St. Paul, deadly Tulsa shooting puts spotlight on hospital security and the work that goes on behind the scenes. Oh, we can't talk about the shooter? Is it because his skin color is wrong? The focus can't be on the perpetrator. It has to be on the hospital security. From Gordon Severson. The deadly shooting at Tulsa Hospital has put a spotlight on the safety of the hospital patients and the employees who work in these buildings every day. In Minnesota, there's a large team of experts who have spent their entire careers contemplating this issue. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to make things work well and to keep people safe, Regional Healthcare Preparedness Coordinator Jonathan Bunt said. Well, first thing you should do if you want to keep safe is get the hell out of the city. Bunt and his colleague Seth Jones are part of the Metro Health and Medical Preparedness Coalition, which has a team of security experts, first responders, law enforcement officials, and hospital administrators who represent 30 hospitals across the Twin Cities. Healthcare systems compete for patients, but in our field, we don't compete at all, Bunt said. We're working together. We share plans. Together they train, plan, and prepare for every emergency imaginable. We do a lot of drills and exercises, and specifically ones relating to what happened in Tulsa, Bunt said. A shooting that bears a striking similarity to what happened in Alena Clinic in Buffalo last year, where authorities say a frustrated patient, Gregory Ulrich, went to the clinic to cause chaos. The whole metro stood up and were there to support Alena. Hospital emergency manager Seth Jones said both Jones and Bunt responded to that shooting. They say every hospital worker they train in their region learns how to identify patients and workers who may consider harming others and how to report those people to security. Most of the time it's to help somebody, to get them mental health, support, or whatever that support might look like, before they have an opportunity to escalate, Bunt said. It's kind of weird how there's a black man involved in this shooting who doesn't fit the profile of literally anybody else who would ever do something like this, and now the focus is on mental health and security systems. Spare me. From Fox 6. Now we gotta shift gears and talk about the one that's probably just, an hour away from where I'm sitting right now? Graceland Cemetery shooting. Racine police say 2 wounded. From Madeline O'Neill and Fox 6 Digital Team. Apparently, allegedly, I know somebody who lives right across the street from the cemetery. I have not been to his new house. Last time I actually was over at his house was when he was still living in the apartment in Kenosha, if I remember correctly. But apparently, because I talked to him, because I knew that he bought a house in this area. I didn't realize how close it was to this area. But when I looked at the map as to where this was in Racine, and I looked at some of the street names around, I was like, oh, well, redacted, said, oh, he lives off of this street, over in this neighborhood. Wow, that's like really close to where this is. And then I texted him yesterday, and he says, hey, did you hear the shots? I heard it was not very far from me. He says, oh yeah, it's right across the street from me. Well, you and the missus stay safe. I tried to see if he would call in this morning, but yeah, he wasn't actually there at the time that it happened, so he didn't know how much more he could offer this. I thought maybe the aftermath would have been kind of nice to see, but regardless. The Racine Police Department said there were multiple shots fired at Graceland Cemetery on Thursday afternoon, June 2nd. Officials say 2 people were wounded, one of whom was flown to the hospital in the shooting that happened shortly before 2:30 p.m., which, I don't know why they would have to fly somebody to the hospital at that point, because unless they had to take the person to Freighter or something. Because in the neighborhood that they are, there is a hospital like right around the corner from where they're at. I'm semi-familiar with this neighborhood. Not hugely familiar with the area, but semi-familiar. One of the shops that I worked at when I worked in Racine, that was their regular test drive route, was right through that neighborhood if you had to go on a longer test drive to either identify or make sure that your fix was done. And done correctly, and wasn't going to come back out and cause another problem. I heard it was mass chaos here. People were running and people got in cars and people were screaming, Racine Police Sergeant Chrisette Wilcox said. The shooting happened during the burial ceremony for Deshante King, the man who was shot and killed by police in May that you probably never heard of. Last place I would ever expect something like this to be happening, said Racine resident Chandler Rorick. People went from laying life to rest to running for their lives in a place usually home to quiet mourning. Facebook video shows what happened after gunshots broke the peace. I thought I heard probably 30-40 gunshots going off. It sounded like different kinds of guns. Heidi, who lives near the cemetery, told Fox 6 News. One of the 2 people wounded was a girl who's since been released from the hospital, police said. Another victim was flown to Milwaukee Hospital for treatment, or to a Milwaukee hospital for treatment, and their condition is unknown. Now, probably smart for Fox 6 to not say which hospital, obviously. I can speculate. I have no idea which hospital, but I can speculate, given the nature of everything, it was probably Freighter. Right now, we're asking for calm and no retaliation of any kind. The city has seen enough right now, and we'd like to be able to rest for a little bit, said Wilcox. Let's listen to what this person had to say. I have no idea who this person is, but let's listen to what this person had to say.
I'll start by saying thank you for your patience and thank you for being here today. I'm Sergeant Wilcox of the Racine Police Department. I'm the Public Information Officer. On today's date, about 2:26 hours this afternoon, the funeral of Deshante King was taking place at Graceland Cemetery right over there. During the funeral, multiple shots were fired into the crowd. 2 people were struck. One has since been released from the hospital and one has been flighted to Milwaukee. I do not know where they were shot or their status of now. Currently, no one is in custody. We are interested in any information or any videos that anybody might have. Please call the police department. If you happen to have video, please check our Facebook page. There are instructions on our page on what to do with the videos and who to contact. Right now, we're asking for calm and no retaliation of any kind. The city has seen enough right now, and we'd like to be able to rest for a little bit. That's all I have for now.
I'm hearing that someone has been detained. Can you confirm that police have detained someone?
I don't have that information. I was not told that. So I actually heard from you people that Ascension was locked down. Typically in a case like this, when there's a large crowd involved or someone that's shot, there's a lot of people that show up at the hospital, so that diverts our attention from this scene and investigating this scene to trying to control the crowd at the hospital so everybody can get their care that they went to the hospital for. So I'm assuming that's why they locked it down, to control the crowd.
Oh, that's probably why they flighted that person up to Milwaukee, too, is just because Ascension. Yeah, I never thought about the fact that they might have locked that down, especially given what happened in Tulsa.
Do you know if any shots fired happened outside of the cemetery here? We just see a broken window over there, and we heard that maybe there were shots fired at cars during this.
Honestly, I don't know where all the scenes were. I heard there were multiple scenes, so I don't know if that includes just in the cemetery. I do know that this road was impacted, was part of the scene. I don't know if there was anything south of there.
Do you know if it was at cars?
I have no idea, to tell you the truth. I don't have that information.
What are investigators learning from the victims about who may have been firing?
Honestly, the investigators didn't give me any information, and I tried to not bother them so they can do their job.
Can you confirm or just tell us if the shooting happened at car? You know?
I believe so, but I don't have that confirmation either. That was just first reports of the scene, that there were cars and there were different descriptions, and I don't even have those descriptions right now to say.
Were the shots coming from one direction, or did anyone at the funeral return fire?
Honestly, I was not given that information either.
Maybe somebody at the funeral should have returned fire.
Tasha, what happened? Who they shooting at? I see that. They got the whole block out down here. I don't believe it.
You don't know where you're there with
A funeral.
I believe I was working on that right now. Make sure.
A drive-by.
think our gentleman here that was taking the video, I think he might need to trim up a little bit because it sounds like it was really hard for him to...
Begin with that breaking news.
Shut up. It sounds like it was really hard for him to do this. There's the aerial scene of it.
Right now at Graceland Cemetery in Racine, Chicago's Fox 32 helicopter is flying over the scene right now. This is where Racine police say multiple shots were fired just before 3 o'clock this afternoon, right around 2:30. There was some sort of funeral procession, we're told by those who lived in the area, that came into the cemetery, and then shots started ringing out. At this point, what we do have confirmed is that there are multiple victims. We do not know an exact count at this point. We haven't learned of a news conference from Racine police at this moment, but of course, this is still very much an active investigation. We have multiple crews on the ground there. The crime scene is very large, a lot of evidence markers. So we are staying very much on top of this story, but we just wanted to kind of give you this bird's eye view as to what was happening on the ground in Racine at Graceland Cemetery. We'll keep on this.
All right, so that is what we're seeing from that. Let's actually refresh that, just so we can get it to keep it from auto playing here. Some more of this from TMJ4 out of Milwaukee. Police, 2 shot during funeral at Graceland Cemetery in Racine. Lord, you can't even go to a funeral anymore, a witness said. A suspect shot and injured 2 people during a funeral at Graceland Cemetery in Racine Thursday, according to police. Police described the shooting as a critical incident and urged people to stay away. Police said multiple shots were fired in the direction of funeral services. Christy Wilcox said a juvenile was treated and released, and a second person was flown to a hospital in Milwaukee. Around an hour after the shooting, family member who attended the service told TMJ4 News 5 people have been hit. Racine police said it's possible not everyone had reported injuries or plans to report minor injuries. TMJ4 news crews could see at least 12 markers for bullet rounds at the scene of the shooting. Oh, we get to actually see when this happened. Thank you, TMJ. Wait, is there auto fire in there? Let's back that up a little bit. That sounded like auto fire to me. 3-round bursts. Or burst fire, at least. Also sound like there's at least 2 different types of firearms.
Oh my God! Where she shot at? Where she shot at? Go, man. What else? Who else hit? Somebody else shot. Oh shit! Oh fuck! Oh, they shoot. Somebody else. Oh fuck! Jesus, no, Jesus! No.
Yeah, put your smartphone down and call 911. Alright, I don't know what that's going to do off of that, but yeah, that was definitely burst fire right at the beginning. Later in the afternoon, a smartphone video emerged on Facebook showing the funeral service. Family and friends gathered around the gravesite and the casket of Deshante King Sr. when gunfire rings out. I heard it was mass chaos, said Sergeant Wilcox. People were running and people just got in cars. People were screaming. We got multiple 911 calls that people got shot. Some people headed to Ascension, just a half-mile away. Right now, we're asking for a calm and no retaliation of any kind. The city has seen enough, and we'd like to be able to rest for a little bit," said Sergeant Wilcox. Yeah, this is just going to go a spinning wheel of death. I want to listen to that one more time and hear if that's actual burst fire.
Oh, Lord.
That is burst fire, dude. Somebody's got an Uzi.
Oh, my God. Where she shot at? Where she shot at? Oh, Lord. Oh, my God.
Man, to have the money to have something that's in burst fire and afford the ammo for it. Holy shit. Yeah, so that's chaos. And one more onto this, just telling a little bit more about that. 5 shot during funeral at cemetery in Wisconsin. Do we have anything else? The Drager Langendorn Funeral Home and Crematory confirms to TMJ4 that a funeral during that time was for Deshante L. King Sr. The worker at the funeral home said King's family members were hit. All funeral home staff were okay, they said. Several shots were fired, but it's not known exactly how many, Racine police tweeted. I mean, we can go back and listen to the video again and count. Police said then that an officer attempted a traffic stop for firearms investigation. Okay, so this is why the guy was at the funeral, why the guy was being buried. Family previously identified Deshante King Sr. as the man who Racine police officer shot and killed on March 20th. Which you didn't hear about because, well, frankly, the BLM thing is over right now. Police said that an officer attempted a traffic stop for a firearms investigation. Police said that as King got out of his vehicle, armed with a firearm. The officer ordered the suspect to stop and comply with commands, but he refused. The officer opened fire. King was pronounced dead at the scene. So, and then, yeah, this was kind of the reason that I was looking at this and realizing where this is, because I knew that my friend lived around Spring Street, right off of 31. That I knew. I didn't realize that he was that close to the cemetery. Until yesterday. So, that is what we're seeing off of that. And then, just a few hours later, in Iowa of all places, from the Des Moines Register. Here's what we know about the deadly Ames church shooting. From Des Moines Register staff. A man shot and killed 2 female victims and then killed himself in a parking lot outside Ames Cornerstone Church Thursday night, according to police and officials at the church. The suspected shooter appeared to have died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Story County Sheriff Captain Nicholas Lenny said the ages of the female victims were not immediately known, probably minors, that's why. A statement from Mark Vance, the lead pastor at Cornerstone Church, said Thursday night that he was unable to give any details about what happened because of an ongoing investigation. We can say, however, that they're more saddened by the events that transpired. Our hearts break for all involved, and we are praying for everyone affected, especially the family of the victims. Our ministry staff are available to support these impacted, and we will continue to fully cooperate with authorities as they complete their full investigation, the statement says. A prayer service will be held at 10 a.m. Friday at Cornerstone Church of Ames, 56829 U.S. Highway 30 in Ames. All are welcome to attend in person or join online at cornerstonelife.com/live, according to the church's website. Authorities will hold a news conference at 10:30 a.m. Friday at the Story County Sheriff's Office. Kim Reynolds said the shooting was an act of senseless violence. Tonight's act of senseless violence took the lives of 2 innocent victims at their place of worship. Kevin and I grieve for the families who have suffered an unfathomable loss, the governor said on Twitter. And while the investigation continues and we learn more, we ask that Iowans pray for the victims and their families, the members of the Cornerstone Church, and the entire Ames community. Cornerstone Church, a megachurch with dozens of staff, is located at the intersection of US 30 and Interstate 35 in Ames. The church sits just south of Lake Wesley. I think I've seen this church. It was years ago, though. Because if I remember correctly, I had to go past Ames to get to Grinnell, where one of my friends moved to at the time and has since moved away from. I helped her move, actually. The church is also framed by Crossroad Baptist Church and the Iowa Department of Transportation Maintenance Garage. Beyond that are sprawling fields across, well, that's Iowa. Across the street from the church is the 3TS All-Star Sports Academy. To its west, on the other side of I-35, the DMACC Career Academy and Durham School Services, as well as a handful of businesses. The church, according to its website, was founded in 1994 from a college ministry at ISU called the Salt Company, which is still the name of the church's university ministry. The Cornerstone website says it's a multi-generational church with a passion to reach the next generation of college students with the gospel. So not a lot of details on what happened with this, just kind of some details about what this is and where this is, but I don't know if this was targeted, if this was people that were just in the wrong place at the wrong time, or if this was like Racine, where it just was a bunch of burst fire. A little bit more on this one. From CBS, 3 dead, including gunmen, in shooting an outside Iowa church. A man shot 2 females to death and then apparently killed himself Thursday night outside a church in Ames, authorities said. Investigators didn't know the age of those killed, Lenny said. The shooter appeared to have then shot himself, but his death is still being investigated. Lenny said the church is near I-35, 30 miles north of Des Moines. Not a lot more information that comes off of this. The sheriff's office told CBS Des Moines, Iowa affiliate KCCI-TV it received multiple calls at 6:51 p.m. The station says the shooting happened during Salt Company college ministry program. Casey Pierce, a student who went to the Cornerstone for the program, remarked to KCCI that for that to happen at Cornerstone Church in Ames, Iowa, you would have to told me that a bit ago. I probably wouldn't have believed you. It's unbelievable, honestly. A church member, identified by KCCI only as Scott, said he wasn't an eyewitness but had prayed with a student who was on the scene. It's just hard to comprehend, Scott said. Other than that, it's just ongoing investigation. We have no details for this at the time. And there doesn't appear to be any video of this either, so that's what we see for that. And now, the policy side, because, hey, we had more shootings, so let's go talk about more gun control. Starting with the Daily Wire, is he going to bring the key players? Ducey asked why Biden is hitting the beach if gun violence is an emergency. So, yep, let's do Ducey. Fox News correspondent, smug question asker, grilled press secretary, token diversity hire, during Thursday's press briefing, asking why President Biden was headed to his Delaware beach house if he truly believed gun violence was a national emergency. Ducey noted that Biden has called on Congress to act on gun violence right away, and he is expected to repeat that call in an address scheduled for Thursday evening right before he leaves the White House for a weekend at the beach. Let's listen.
If the president thinks that Congress must act immediately to end this epidemic of gun violence, is he going to bring any of the key players from Capitol Hill to the beach with him tonight?
Oh, okay. So I don't have.
That's a big part of candidate Biden's whole thing, that he knows how to get things done.
He does. He does.
Yeah. Diversity hire appeared to scoff the question. Oh, okay. Is there more of this? Yeah, there's more.
I mean, he's beaten the gun lobby before. He has.
Why not invite these lawmakers who maybe haven't beat the gun lobby and say, this is how it's done?
But it's not his thing. It's actually fact. We saw he did that in the Senate during his Congress days, that he beat the gun lobby.
He didn't beat the gun lobby. So, yeah, and I mean, it's a good question. Why is he running off? If this is such an emergency, and we're having this literally twice a day at this point, why is he running off to Delaware? Why is he not doing something about it? Because he says he's going to do something about it. And then he did. Biden calls for ban on assault weapons. This time we must actually do something. Okay, what do you call what happened before that you tout so much? I beat the gun lobby. From Libby Cathy and Alexandra Hutzler. As mass shootings continue to rock the nation, President Brandon delivered primetime remarks on guns Thursday evening, imploring the nation to, for God's sakes, man, to do something. This slider is such a pain in the ass. Rows of illuminated white candles line the carpet at the White House Cross Hall as Biden called on lawmakers to take action, listing off reforms he'd like to see passed to curb gun violence. We need to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. And if we can't ban assault weapons, then we should raise the age to purchase them from 18 to 21. Strengthen background checks. Enact safe storage laws and red flag laws. Repeal the immunity that protects gun manufacturers from liability. They have liability or immunity from liability because they... That's the one that pisses me off so much. I'll tell the story again. If Mr. Burglar breaks into my house and he sees the half-inch hole that's facing him, that's about to put a half-inch hole in him, with the warning of, okay, you've got the opportunity to modify your behavior, otherwise your life ends right here. I will let you live. If you just walk back out that door, no questions asked, I won't even call the cops. You walk out that door and never come back here. I will let you live. And if he doesn't do that, that half-inch hole is going to put a half-inch hole in him. That is not a liable claim. Like the family of that perpetrator, now victim of me, his family wouldn't go back and sue the manufacturer of that armament because it was working absolutely correctly at the time. But if I'm off at the range with my little Smith, with my little 9mm, plinking and having fun, shooting into targets, and in the third shot, the slide should happen to break and fly off and beam me right in the middle of the forehead, yes, Mama J. Edgar and Dad J. Edgar are going to have a nice, large settlement from the Smith & Wesson Company. Millions of dollars, sorrow across the land. Millions of dollars in my mom and dad's pocket. Because that's the liability right there. If the firearm was not working in its intended purpose and caused injury. Yeah, and Randy says this, it brings up the same idea. If I'm driving, it's not even just if somebody hits me with a Mustang, can I sue forward? If I am, and I told this story one time, it's a hypothetical, this didn't actually happen, but Chalaga actually said that he wanted to be the one to buy me the scotch. If I have gone down into an establishment in the city of Janesville and consumed a large amount of scotch in one night and get in my pickup and decide inadvisedly to drive home, don't drive drunk, folks, and I should happen to bury my pickup in the local Burger King, Burger King is going to sue me for the damages after I get done with my DUI. Because trust me, I won't have any money left once the DUI thing is done. But Burger King is going to sue me for the damages. They are not going to sue the Ford Motor Company. I shall be on the hook for the insurance and everything else that happened that it took to repair that particular Burger King. The Ford Motor Company will not. The latest mass shooting on Wednesday in Tulsa, leaving 4 dead, follows a massacre of 19 students and 2 teachers at an elementary school in Uvalde, as well as an apparently racially motivated attack, honk honk, at a grocery store in Buffalo, leaving 10 black people dead. The only reason that one's racially motivated is because the government doesn't care about black people until it's time to pull them up out of the ghetto for an election, and then get them on the bus and take them to as many voting sites as they possibly can get in a day. We spent hours with hundreds of family members who were broken, whose lives will never be the same, Biden said. They had one message for all of us. Do something. Just do something. After Columbine, after Sandy Hook, after Charleston, after Orlando, after Vegas, after Parkland, nothing has been done. This time that can't be true. This time we must do something. And damn it, if I have to orchestrate another shooting in every single state until you all give up your firearms to me, we will kill people in every state until you surrender. By the way, I don't buy the fact that these are all grassroots either, just so you know. I think most people know that by this point. I have clips of the video. How long was this speech? Videos. 17 minutes. So we're not going to go back and watch the whole thing, but I do have some clips up here. I haven't watched the whole thing yet. Biden said earlier this week he was not confident Congress would succeed in passing gun reform legislation, referencing his own time in the Senate. While serving as vice president, Biden was tasked in the wake of the Sandy Hook shooting to lead the admin's efforts to enact tougher gun laws. But in the nearly decade since the nation mourned for Newtown, no action on gun has passed at the federal level. The last meaningful gun reform legislation passed on Capitol Hill was the '94 assault weapons ban, which expired in '04 due to a sunset clause in the legislation. Similar legislation has failed for decades in the Senate due to a large part to the filibuster rule, which required 60 senators for a measure to advance towards a final vote. Though Democrats hold a razor-thin majority in Congress, they cannot push legislation through the Senate without the support of at least 10 Republicans. The American public is widely supportive of universal background checks, which have already passed through the House Democratic majority. An ABC News Washington Post poll conducted in September of 2019 found that 89% support universal background checks. Yeah, okay. I'd love to see the demographics of where you went back and cherry-picked that one, because most people, especially people who are enthusiasts of guns, know that a universal background check is a backdoor way to make a gun registry, because if you have to background check when Billy Bob sells his gun to Joe Bob, if you got to background check it for that, that means the government knows where that gun is. And here we are with the registry right there. Including at least 8 in 10 Republicans and conservatives. Bullshit. If 8 and 10 Republicans and conservatives think this is a good idea, then those 8 and 10 Republicans are fucking morons. Dang it! I did it again. The judiciary on Thursday voted along party lines 25-19 to approve the Protect Our Kids Act and send it to the full chamber for a vote next week. The markup lasted over 9 hours and concluded as Biden addressed the nation and called on Congress to take up specific gun control reforms, many of which are included in the Democrats' proposals. The bill, which would raise the purchasing age for semi-automatic rifles to 21, limit large-capacity magazines, create safe storage requirements, and tighten regulation of ghost guns, lacked 60 votes to pass in the Senate. Yeah, they're coming out here, and they're basically what they're doing is, because they know they can't nix the filibuster, is they're going out. One of the things that goes with this, and one of the things that, I mean, this is brilliant strategy, because they're doing the big ask, because they can go back and virtue signal to their people and say, look, see what we did that evil Republicans did? That they didn't want to come back and do. And then you get the morons over on Twitter that say, Republicans just want your kids to die because they won't even take this up. Where they do these big packages of things that they know can't pass because they know that if they did pass, these people wouldn't have jobs come the next election cycle. So they can sit here and virtue signal safely and tell the world how evil the filibuster is. And tell the world how much they hate the fact that they can't do anything. Meanwhile, nothing gets done. And they still get a new talking point. So, that's a recap from ABC of the speech. And like I said, I know we have clips. Not in this one, but we have clips. President Biden calls for banning assault weapons during address to the nation. The Second Amendment, like all other rights, is not absolute. That's right. Your right to free speech is not absolute, according to President Biden. Your right to a trial by jury is not absolute. A jury of your peers. In fact, if the government wants to come back down and persecute you for having wrongthink, your right to a trial by jury is not absolute. Your right to unlawful search and seizure is not absolute, according to Biden. Hey, if they want to come back and stick soldiers in your house, it's not your property. Your rights aren't absolute. You see where we go with this? Civil forfeiture. That's not absolute, according to Biden. That's a dangerous path to go down. From Alex Nitzberg. President Biden called for gun control during an address to the nation on Thursday about the ongoing problem of mass shootings in the U.S. Biden has called for banning assault firearms and large capacity magazines, or alternatively for increasing the age. No, it's not alternatively, it's going to be both. To buy those guns to 21 years old, he specifically called for reimposing a ban that was approved in 1994, but which eventually expired a decade later. The president said that the Second Amendment, like all other rights, is not absolute. Biden said that the issue is not about eliminating people's rights, but rather about protecting people. The Second Amendment states a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The president called for measures also such as national red flag laws and safe storage laws. He expressed support for expanding background checks. Here's the problem. What's one thing that we keep hearing over and over when we do see one of these big shootings? The shooter was known by the FBI. The shooter was known by the FBI. The FBI was aware of the shooter. The shooter was on the FBI's radar. If we can get the FBI, I will be glad to hear what you have to say about expanded background checks and red flag laws. I'll be glad to listen to what you have to say. I will probably not support it, but I'll be glad to listen to what you have to say as soon as these jerk-offs stop slipping through the cracks. That's the problem. You can't uphold the laws you already have on the books. And you expect me to give you the power to enact more laws, to take more rights away from law-abiding citizens? No! You can go and screw yourself. Uvalde, Buffalo. A suspect in that case pleaded not guilty regarding a 25-count indictment. The individual's attorney noted on Thursday, according to CNN. Democrats have been calling for gun control, claiming that it will help address the issue of mass shootings, and some lawmakers have called for abolishing the filibuster, which that's at the root of all of this right here. They don't care about gun control. They don't care if you and all the rest of us shoot each other in the street. They care that you can't turn that gun back on them, but they want the filibuster gone. Enough is enough. We must abolish the filibuster and pass gun safety legislation now. No one in America needs an AR-15. How many more children, mothers, and fathers need to be murdered in cold blood before the Senate has the guts to ban assault weapons and take on the NRA? Bernie Sanders tweeted last week. During a Judiciary Committee markup of legislation on Thursday, Swallowwell of California questioned whether Republicans had shown up for the murderers or for the children. Yes, we'll be listening to that in just a bit. That is a live update, so we're not going to do that. Let's grab this video clip at least.
Do something. Just do something. For God's sake, do something. After Columbine, after Sandy Hook, after Charleston, after Orlando, after Las Vegas, after Parkland, nothing has been done. This time that can't be true. This time we must actually do something.
We must do something. This time we must actually do something. Biden claims gun control not about taking away rights before listing ways that he wants to take away your rights. And there is Hunter Biden's DOJ transaction record. Do we have video? Thought we had video. No, I guess I don't have video on that one. Okay, I thought I had more video of this speech. All right, this is from Ryan Saavedra. I know, I gotta fire my tech producer because he never gets me the video that I want. Come on. Never fire that producer too. Producer, you're fired. Democrat President Joe Biden called for clamping down on Americans' constitutionally protected Second Amendment rights during a speech on Thursday night, following last week's tragic shooting in Uvalde. This isn't about taking away anyone's rights, Biden claimed before rattling off a list of ways that he wants to take away people's Second Amendment rights. Biden has called for banning semi-automatic long guns, which are extremely popular in the U.S., banning what he claimed were high-capacity magazines, enacting red flag laws that strip Americans of due process, and going after the gun manufacturers. We need to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, Biden said. If we can't ban assault weapons, then we should raise the age to purchase them from 18 to 21 and strengthen the background checks. Raising the age needed to buy firearms would not have stopped 9 of the 10 worst mass shootings in U.S. history, as all the shooters except for 2 were 21 years or older. Of the 2 shooters who were under 21, one of them, the man responsible for Sandy Hook shooting, stole the weapon he used from his parents. Biden politicized recent tragedies to attack Republican lawmakers, while his admin has struggled to manage numerous crises that have erupted under his leadership, including the crisis at the southern border, baby formula shortage, skyrocketing inflation, and soaring fuel costs, and so on. Biden's call for restricting the rights of law-abiding Americans comes as his own son, Hunter, has been accused of committing a felony by lying in the background check form to illegally purchase a firearm. Arthur Schwartz tweets out, Hunter Biden lied on Form 4473 to illegally purchase a gun, a felony punishable by up to 10 years in prison, and a $250,000 fine. His girlfriend then dumped that gun in the trash next to a school. He wasn't even arrested. Why don't we enforce existing laws before demanding new ones? Well, that's kind of base that we don't enforce the existing laws, but Unfortunately, that's only for people who are connected to the most popular president in history, Hong Kong. 81 million votes, Hong Kong, 10 scoops of ice cream. But yes, here is the firearms transaction record. Oh, we might have to just stay on the zoomed in side because otherwise this doesn't work. Biden, Robert Hunter, Wilmington. 6'1", 175. Yeah, that cocaine will do that to you. Male. White, non-Hispanic or Latino. Let's see. Answer the following questions by clicking or marking yes or no. Are you the actual transferee, buyer of the firearm listed in the form? Warning. You are not the actual transferee buyer if you are acquiring firearms on behalf of another person. If you are not the actual transferee buyer, the licensee cannot transfer the firearms to you. Exception. If you're picking up a repaired firearm for another person, you are not required to answer 11A or 1A and may proceed to question 11B. Are you under indictment or information in any court for a felony, any other crime, for which the judge could imprison you for more than a year? No. Have you ever been convicted in any court of a felony? No. Are you a fugitive from justice? No. Are you an unlawful user of or addicted to marijuana or any depressant, stimulant, narcotic drug, or any other controlled substance? Warning, the use or possession of marijuana remains unlawful under federal law, regardless of whether it's been legalized or decriminalized for medicinal or recreational purposes in the state where you reside. No. They say of the crack addict. Have you ever been adjudicated as a mental defective? Have you ever been discharged for the armed forces under dishonorable conditions? 2 lies. Are you subject to a court order restraining you from harassing, stalking, or threatening your child or an intimate partner or child of your such partner? Have you ever been convicted in any court of a misdemeanor, crime of domestic violence? So, with that, there are 2 lies. I'm questioning on a couple other ones because I do think that he was convicted of a felony, if I remember correctly. But yeah, dishonorable discharge and addicted to drugs. And yet, nothing's going to come to that. The allegations facing Hunter stem from an October 2018 incident between Hunter and Haley Biden, the wife of Hunter's deceased brother, Beau Biden. Hunter dated his brother's widow and later fathered a child with a stripper while he was living with Haley Biden. Haley allegedly took Hunter's gun and threw it in a trash can behind a grocery store, which prompted an investigation from law enforcement officials who were concerned because the trash can was close to a high school. Haley Biden later returned to retrieve the firearm, only to discover it was missing. And the Secret Service knew about that too, by the way, just so you know. But, once again, nothing to come from that. Nothing to see here. This is a couple days old, but I wanted to touch on this one here. Biden keeps repeating the same false Second Amendment claim despite repeated fact checks. From Jessica Chasmar, and the survey says, cannons. Biden has revived a pro-gun control talking point in the wake of Uvalde that has been repeatedly debunked throughout the years. Biden told reporters on Memorial Day that the Second Amendment didn't allow for the ownership of cannons when it was adopted as part of the Bill of Rights in 1791. Yeah, no, it did. Biden has repeated the claim at least 5 times during his presidency, despite it earning him 4 Pinocchios from the Washington Post and a false label from PolitiFact on 3 separate occasions dating back to May of 2020. The Second Amendment, an absolute, man. You couldn't go on a cannon, man. The Constitution does, however, give Congress the power to grant letters of marque and reprisal, which were government licenses that allowed civilians to attack and detain vessels of countries at war with the U.S. the Washington Post pointed out in 2021. Individuals who were given these waivers and owned warships obviously also obtained cannons for use in battle, the Post reported at the time. That's your militia right there. That's your Navy. From the Blaze, Swalwell questions whether GOP lawmakers attended a markup on Thursday for children or for murderers. Talked a bit about this in the Daily Wire article. During a Judiciary Committee markup of gun control legislation on Thursday, Eric Swalwell of California questioned whether Republican lawmakers had shown up for murderers or for children. Bruh, if you're not here for the children, why don't you go to the funeral for the murderer? Swalwell asked, saying that it would be the single place where the killer is being celebrated, bruh.
"19 kids are dead. 19 children are dead. And so to my Republican colleagues, I ask, who are you here for? Are you here for our kids, or are you here for the killers? Because if you were here for the kids, you would do all you could to protect the next school shooting that's about to happen. And we know what's going to happen in America.
Okay, I gotta back up off this. Now, again, of course, this is the first time I'm hearing this clip. Didn't show prep. First time hearing this. They keep using this language over and over again. And David Hogg is just as bad. Just so you know, the next mass shooting is already being planned. Why, did your dad, the FBI agent, tip you off about it? Did he tell you this? It's already being planned. And now, we have Swalwell. The next mass shooting that's about to happen. Well, because this is America, and we know that's always about to happen here. He tried to walk that one back there. I caught that. Yeah, there's going to be another one.
You would vote to raise the age on purchasing an assault rifle. You would vote to ban high-capacity magazines. You would vote to require safe storage. And you would vote to address ghost guns, which are ravaging communities across America. But if you're here for the killers, you would do everything to make it easier for the next school shooting to happen. And Mr. Jordan, to say we are trying to dramatically change the country, if trying to make sure that no more kids are put in the ground with a Superman coffin means dramatically change the country, guilty. That's why we're here. Kids are going in the ground today, and you call that trying to dramatically change the country?
Well, go to the not the judicial branch, the DOJ, and tell Merrick Garland to stop ordering the FBI to go kill fucking kids. I did it again.
Why aren't you trying to dramatically change the number of dead kids going into the ground, Mr. Jordan? Who are you here for, the kids or the killers? My Republican colleagues are here for carnival games. They say it's about mental health. Okay, we try and fund mental health, they vote against it. They say it's about schools. We try and fund the schools, fund the teachers. They vote against it. They say it's about policing. $300 million in the American Rescue Plan for community policing. They all voted against it. And they don't want to listen to the police. If they listen to the police, they'd listen to the major...
Okay, if the policing was so important on the American Rescue Plan, make a standalone bill about it. But you won't. You have to hide it in there with the pork for all your big business buddies. Especially you, Mr. Silicon Valley.
Cities chiefs who have called for background checks, red flag laws, banning bump stocks, and banning high-capacity magazines. My favorite, it's about the family. We need to address the family issues in America. But we don't want to help feed a family. We're going to make it harder for kids to live on food stamps. We don't want to help a family learn. We're going to go after teachers in America. We don't want to help kids go to college. We don't want to give them jobs. We're going to vote against the infrastructure and jobs bill. And then they say that laws don't work. But they have no problem crafting laws to take away a woman's right to make her own health care decision. That law must work. They have no problem going after laws to ban drugs. There's plenty of laws on the books to ban drugs. But no, it's all about the person. Laws don't work when you have evil in our country. That's what they tell us. And then they tell us that we're in a country where you have violent video games, mental health problems, schools that can't be secured, and too many gun-free zones. And their solution to that is to put more of the most dangerous weapons into that mix. That's insane. They're also out of touch with the overwhelming majority of gun owners in America. An organization called 97% just put out a poll that said among gun owners, and they only polled gun owners, 86% support background checks, 76% support safe storage, 67% support red flag laws. Those are gun owners. So who are you here for? Our kids or the killers? I'm here for people like Alex Navarro. She's a Moms Demand Action leader in the San Francisco Bay Area. And last week, after I convened a meeting among...
There it is, too. I'm here for the lobbyist. Because the Moms Demand Action, that's a lobby. That's a money laundering scheme for the government. So, thank you, Swalwell, for that. Is there more of this one here? Oh, yes, this clip, too. David Cicilline. I don't think there's a single incident. Maybe there is one, but I have not found one of an assailant using a weapon that was stopped by a person with a gun.
I don't think there is a single incident, and maybe there's one, but I've not found one, of an assailant using an assault weapon that was stopped by a person with a gun. So this is maybe there's one of the thousands and thousands and thousands of shootings. I don't think there is a single incident,
Let's see. Wasn't there one in West Virginia that just happened that got swept under the rug? Hey, didn't a guy with a gun go in and stop the Uvalde shooter after the police all stood down? Hey, didn't that guy in Buffalo surrender himself with several guns trained on him? And Tom Elliott's replying with Newslist 315 times. Good guys with guns stopped bad things from happening. That's probably a small list. I don't know if we're going to get to much more of this after this. We might have to do some more of this on Monday because it's Friday and we get to do live chat and go talk and see what you guys are doing here. See what you guys have to say about all this. And I know we got to get onto that pretty soon. But let's do this one here. Florida GOP Rep. Greg Steube pulls out weapon during House discussion on gun reform. From Scott Sutton. A Florida congressman who represents Okeechobee County displayed multiple firearms on camera during House Judiciary hearing Thursday while discussing a bill that seeks to curb gun violence. The hearing was held to debate H.R. 7910, the Protecting Our Kids Act, which seeks to increase the age limit on the purchase of certain firearms, prevent gun trafficking, modernize the prohibition on untraceable firearms, and encourage the safe storage of firearms. Greg Steube, who represents the state's 17th congressional district, spoke at the hearing via video conference while at his home. About an hour and a half into the hearing, Steube said that Democrats want to take away Americans' constitutional right under the Second Amendment to bear arms. Yes, that is something they have had a hard-on for since 1994 and probably before. Let's watch.
Right here in front of me, I have a Sig Sauer P226. It comes with a 21-round magazine.
Okay, we are paying Congress way too much money.
This gun would be banned. Here's a 12-round magazine. This magazine would be banned under this current bill. It doesn't fit because this gun was made for a 20-round, 21-round magazine. This gun would be banned under this bill. Here's a Sig Sauer 320. It takes a 20-round magazine.
We are paying Congress way too much money.
Takes a 20-round magazine. Here's a 12-round magazine that would be banned. It doesn't fit because it would be banned. This gun would be banned under this bill. Here's a gun I carry every single day to protect myself, my family, my wife, my home. This is a XL Sig Sauer P365. comes with a 15-round magazine. Here's a...
We are paying Congress entirely too much money. That's $3,000 worth of guns that he's just displayed in the first 50 seconds of this video.
7-round magazine, which would be less than what would be lawful under this bill if this bill were to become law. It doesn't fit. So this gun would be banned.
I hope the gun is not loaded.
I'm at my house. I can do whatever I want with my guns.
Here's a point of order.
Is exactly what the Democrats want to do. Now let's just take...
Hold on.
Right here.
Well, let's look at something here.
Sauer P226 comes with a 21-round magazine. This gun would be banned. Here's a 12-round magazine. This magazine would be banned under this current bill. It doesn't fit.
He's trying to put the magazine in there, and it's coming back out, and somebody back on the video says, I hope that gun isn't loaded. These are the people who are making your laws. I hope that gun isn't loaded. You've seen the magazine come out of the damn thing, you moron. Oh my God. These are the people that want to control your lives. I hope that gun isn't loaded. My God. I can't deal with the stupidity like that. My God. I hope that gun isn't loaded. If you can honestly say something like that, then you have no place in making gun law. Period. That is beyond the pale, stupid. Beyond the pale, stupid. Right there. I hope that gun isn't loaded. Really? That made my head hurt. That legitimately made my head hurt. Stubbe ripped President Biden's recent comments on gun control, then proceeded to display multiple handguns, laying out how his bill would put restrictions on certain magazines used in various weapons. Don't let them fool you that they're not attempting to take away your ability to purchase handguns, Stubbe said. They're using the magazine ban to do so. Among the guns that Stubbe displayed included a 6-hour P365 XL, which he said he carries every day to protect himself, his family, and home. It comes with a 15-round mag, Stubbe said. This gun would be banned. How long is this? 5 minutes. We're not going to do that one. Stubbe was stopped by a Democrat member of Congress at one moment during his speech. I hope the gun is not loaded, Sheila Jackson Lee of Texas said. Stubbe then replied, I'm at my house. I can do whatever I want with my guns. Not only that, you literally saw the magazine not go into the gun. You know it's not loaded. Wow. The stupidity of these people. All right. Can we do any more? Can we finish any more here? Let's do these last two here. Then we'll catch the rest of them up on Monday. Because there's still some really good stuff with that. But I wanted to touch on these two before we head out of here. Then, by the way, if you guys do have live chat, why don't you go ahead and make sure that that you guys are getting that in there, because we will be checking in with the live chat here in just a couple minutes as soon as we finish off these two articles here. And yes, I do have the names of everybody who chatted written down here, so I can say thank you to all these people who were wonderful enough to come by and chat and keep us on point and on target. From the Blaze, 53% of Republicans believe the U.S. is headed towards civil war. 44% of male Democrats approve assassinating a politician who's harming our country or democracy. Poll. Yeah, I know. There were many of them out there that said that Donald Trump should be hanged, killed, or otherwise. A concerning percentage of Americans believe that the country is on a collision course with a civil war, according to a new poll. I said that all the way back in 2012, you guys. The survey also revealed that there's an alarming number of Americans who would support carrying out political violence against government leaders. I plead the fifth. The Tulsa Research Group conducted a survey of 1,500 Americans in April, and the SPLC published the distressing results on Wednesday. It's probably racist because the SPLC is involved. When asked if gender ideology has corrupted American culture, there was a stark partisan divide, with 72% of Republicans saying it had damaged the country versus only 34% of Democrats. According to the SPLC poll, 44% of young male Democrats and 34% of young male Republicans would approve of assassinating a politician who is harming our country or democracy. The percentage plummets to 6% of older male Democrats and Republicans. When it comes to threatening a politician who's harming our country or democracy, there are 46% of younger Republican men and 40% of younger Democratic men who approve. The poll defines younger as Americans under the age of 50. There were 45% of young male Republicans and 43% of young male Democrats who support participating in a political revolution, even if it has violence in its ends. There were 44% of Americans who believe the U.S. seems headed towards a civil war in the near future, including 53% of Republicans and 39% of Democrats. There were 62% of gun-owning Republicans who believe the government wants to confiscate their guns. Really? Only 62? But just 35% of Democrat voters with firearms came to the same hypothesis. More than 40% of gun-owning Republicans say they own a firearm in case I may need to use it to protect myself against the government. Willing to bet it's a little bit more than that, but, you know, the Fifth Amendment once again. Another poll released last July discovered that 2/3 of Republicans in the South and nearly half of Democrats on the West Coast want to secede from the Union and form countries composed of regional states. The survey done by the same polling company, released in February 2021, stated that 50% of Republicans in the South wanted to secede and become their own regional nation, and 41% of Democrats in the Pacific wanted to do the same. Regularly during his presidential campaign, during his inaugural address, President Biden promised to bring unity back to the United States. Yeah, how'd that work out for you? Look, I am an advocate for national divorce if we can find no other way to do this. And we are becoming so divided that it would be nearly impossible under current circumstances to continue on. I do see avenues where circumstances could change, where we could come back and become a more united front. I just don't see them happening very quickly. The problem that I have, especially if it's the West Coast that goes off and secedes, I'm sorry, the South that goes off and secedes, not the West Coast. I mean, at this point, if the West Coast decided they wanted to go become their own country, okay, well, give us back our military equipment and our bases. And you go do whatever it is that you want to do, because we've got the Gulf of Mexico, we've got the Atlantic Ocean, we'll go trade around there, plus the Panama Canal. We will get our goods out to the rest of the world. The problem with the South is, once again, of course, it does seem like the overarching federal government, the people who want to have the federal power, much like Lincoln, would realize that they would lose large basins of tax revenue, large swaths of tax chattel, and large amounts of the production in this country overnight. And they can't live with that. They need to be able to make sure that they can continue with their production. Like the producers, and this is the other thing too, with like the Pacific states. If there was a secession for that, a lot of the producers, because they've been so demonized for that, They live under federal protection now, but given the fact, they would probably go back and go to some place like Texas or Iowa or something like that. Or, in other news, either pass a law to try to prevent American citizens or who would have been former American citizens from leaving and emigrating back to the U.S. and taking their business or means of production with them. I know I've actually heard some of that from socialists. I've had that argument with a socialist before. Or, more eerily, try to snipe stuff from the U.S. to try to keep them from doing and producing the way that they should be. But yes, once you take all your resources away, and the other part of this too is with California, especially California. If they want to go back and secede, I would see a situation where that Colorado River would be dammed off so fast they wouldn't know what hit them. Taking all the fresh water away from California and forcing them to live on whatever water they can get from Oregon and Washington State. Either way, it would be a hard road ahead if they did it. If it can be done, and it needs to be done, and it won't lead to a lot of starvation, a lot of people dying, then we may need to get there, but I do have logistical concerns about it as well. And the last one, from NBC 10 out of Boston, McDonald's knowingly served Muslim family bacon, complaint says. From Mark Pratt. Workers at a McDonald's restaurant in Massachusetts intentionally put bacon on a fish sandwich that a Muslim woman had ordered for one of her children, a civil rights organization has said on Wednesday. The Council on American-Islamic Relations filed a discrimination complaint on the woman's behalf with the Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination. It's commonly known that Islam forbids Muslims from eating pork, the complaint says. McDonald's employees willfully added bacon to the complainant's food in an effort to offend, humiliate, and cause distress to complainant and her young children. The complaint is the first step in the process seeking monetary damages, said Barbara Dugan, a care lawyer. She also hopes that it prompts McDonald's to better train its workers to prevent similar incident in the future. Religious discrimination at a place of public accommodation is not only illegal, but also morally reprehensible, she said in a statement. An email seeking comment was left with McDonald's corporate headquarters in Chicago. A message was also left with someone who answered the phone at Gomez Enterprises, LLC, which operates the McDonald's restaurant on Meadow Street in Chicopee. Do I know that one? Where's Chicopee? Yeah, that's way out on the west side. That's what I thought. I've never been there, but I've been close to there. I thought maybe it was one that was closer over to where I used to live. Because that does sound like something that would happen in the town that I used to live in, that had a McDonald's in it. That sounds like something they would do. I'm not going to lie. But nope, that was all the way out by Springfield. The experience prompted one of the children to ask his mother, "Do they hate us?" McDonald's made my children feel unwanted and worthless by intentionally stuffing a fish sandwich full of bacon for no other reason than to punish us for our faith and religious convictions, the woman, Gadir Al-Amar, said in a statement. This really hurt us. My children now wonder if they're welcome in their own country. They ask me, do they hate us? How is a mother supposed to answer that question? Al-Amar, who wears a hijab and an abaya, entered the store on June 29th last year with her twin, 7-year-old sons, the complaint said. She ordered a plain fish sandwich and had one of her children repeat the order to a worker in case they did not understand her accent. They received the order, which included fries and cookies. They left the restaurant to walk to a nearby school playground where they planned to eat. One of her sons noticed the bacon. The sandwich not only had bacon on it, but it appeared to have extra bacon, the complaint says. I'm going to go on a limb and I'm going to say hoax. Honestly. I don't buy this. They did not eat the bacon, but one son ate the lower half of the bun and part of the fish fillet, according to the complaint. I don't buy it. Alamar's husband returned to the store with the uneaten portion of the sandwich later that same evening and was refunded the purchase price. Sorry, don't buy it. You know why I don't buy it? Because in the past few weeks, we've had abortion access, we've had guns, we've had a racism, and now we have to have an Islamophobia because it's midterm time. That's why I don't buy that. In fact, I would go on a limb and say that the woman probably bought the bacon with the intent not to eat it and threw it back on there afterward. So, that's what we see off of that. Sorry, that one's a stretch too far for me. Alright, let's look into the live chat, see what you guys did throughout the week and are doing today. Alright, let's come back up to the top. A little bit of a slow day today, but we'll see still what happens off of this. In fact, I think we're slow enough today that we don't have to go back and start reading at the beginning, but let's start off. Let's get the Twitch chat up here so I can see what's happening in real time because we're up to the top over here. Let's see. Throughout the week this week. By the way, reminder, even if you guys are lurking, get a message or two in here so I can come in and say thank you for coming and watching the show. Unless you're driving, then don't do that. But I do want to say thank you to everybody who's watching the show. And again, I say that because I know that we're trying right now to go off and compete with the AM radio, because you can either listen to the AM radio and listen to 15 minutes of commercials every 10 minutes and get a more sanitized news story that's put through the mainstream media, or you can sit here with me and I will read you what's actually happening, break down what's actually happening, and tell you the stuff that the mainstream media doesn't want you to know. And the only commercial you'll get is if you watch Twitch, you'll get one right at the beginning. Let's check out what we've got here. Monday, our top chatters: Quest Fanning, Goats and Scarves, Vehicle Extended Warranty, Ron Helton, Reset This, 80s Kid, ETB News Network, Job for 9, and Set of a Cantus Bear. And Vehicle Extended Warranty, too, by the way, joined us, and so did Job for 9 over on the Twitch side. So thank you for that. We also had a Unip 7919 over on the Twitch side, too, that joined us. APC Burring Net and Ben Wild also. We had a lot of people join in this week. See if we can't get to that 400 follower goal over on the Twitch side so we can start working for partner. If we get to the, which I'll go and do some research after this, but if we get to the follower goal, I'm going to start urging people again to go watch on Twitch so we can get to the average viewers requirement. Because I would love for Bezos to have to pay me as a partner on Twitch. I think it's going to take a lot more growth, but I would love for Bezos to have to come out and say, yes, this person who says the news that we don't like is a partner. Or I get banned on Twitch, one of the two. On Tuesday, our friends on the top chat were Quest Fanning, Set of a Cantus Bear, Ron Helton, Ben Wild, Goats and Scarves, Arvolt, Job for 9, 80s Kid, and Nephilim of Nibiru, plus Randy Crush Saga joined us on Tuesday. Wednesday, our chatters were Quest Fanning, Ron Helton, Ben Wild, Set of a Cantus Bear, Chilaga 1984, Life to the Max, Luke Wee, Arvolt 24, Randy Crush Saga, and J Miles 338. Yesterday, our top chatters: Ron Helton, Blind Fear, Quest Fanning, Goats and Scarves, Frank Frijoles came in with a sticker party towards the end of the show. I remember seeing that. Arvolt, Chilaga 1984, MK Ultra Mega, you mean, and Nephilim Ninja of Nibiru, whom I had to apologize to for giving him triggering PTSD talking about the Great Flood and the rainbow that came with it. All right, let's see what we have today. Ron Helton, good morning. Jay Edgar, fellow Ed Heads. Goats and Scarves is here. Ron Helton with the stickers. $4.48 for 100% gas and $4.99 for diesel at the station I use. These higher prices are concerning. This is bad for our country. $4.48 for premium isn't that bad, though. I wouldn't think. Not compared to here, where it's probably almost $5. Ron says Ford has limited parts for this year's EV pickup, so if the dealers don't have one, you probably won't get one in the near term. Well, they have limited parts everywhere. Not even just for EV stuff, but for traditional stuff, too. I've already bought 2 of the Ford Platinum EVs for his roofing business. He uses one, the one he uses for himself. He got it with a self-driving system. I wouldn't use that. I didn't even know Ford had that technology yet. Probably, they can probably mass produce it too. Wes Fanning is here. Saying good morning to goats. Look at those eyes. 2 scoops for Ed, not Biden. Randy Crush Saga is here. Luke Wee is here. Ron Helton at a cemetery. Nuts. Job for 9 is with us this morning. Randy, someone tell the shooter he can't have that automatic weapon. Yeah, that was definitely burst fire. The one at the end sounded like an automatic too. I didn't catch that. But I definitely heard the burst fire over on the one. Ron Helton, was it a love triangle? Maybe. Biden needs to go to his beach house before climate change puts it underwater. Wink, wink. I didn't hear anything. The letters of marque were not to give them permission to have the cannons. It was so they would not be treated as pirates. That's correct. That's actually in Sid Meier's Pirates. It's one of the first things that you can get from a country if you start to ally with them or start to do stuff is they'll give you, before they start to give you a rank, they'll give you a letter of marque that authorizes you to sink the ships of their enemies. Sid Meier's Pirates is a lot of fun. I should stream that one day. Won't somebody please think of the children? Ron Helton says, how did that work out for the Ukrainians? They had to get their weapons from the government when the Russians invaded. And then I replied back and I said, yeah, our government, no less. Why is Swalwell not sitting in a cage and rotting? You know why he's not sitting in a cage and rotting. Because he has the approval of the Democrat Party. Ron says, I don't care if 99% of Americans think I should jump through hoops to assert my natural rights. I will not go along with any more government tyranny. Set up a Candace Bear says he has a special Mossad-funded gun allowance. Nephilim Ninja of Nibiru says, if it don't fit, Democrats will throw a fit. Neo-Christian monarchy now. Well, my stance is always, you guys can have as much government as you want as long as you keep it over there and off my lawn. I really don't care. I would not bend the knee to a neo-Christian monarchy. I would only bend the knee to Christ. But if you guys want to do something like that over there, have fun. Leave me out of it. Nephilim Ninja of Nibiru says he's playing with guns. Send the cops to his house. Joffre 9 says they say the leading cause of death for children is firearms instead of cars, yet they forget that during the start of COVID, no one was driving. Luke Wee is here. I'm working, so I can't really chat much. No, that's fine. Like I say, my big thing right now is trying to change up my language so we can compete with the AM radio guys who are probably not going to be able to chat much in their driving. So I understand what you guys are doing, and I do see the counter at the bottom too. I do see you guys. The lurkers too. Even though I don't know your names, I see you. And I'm thankful for you. Nephilim. The child was quoted as saying, In the name of Allah, that was delightful. MK says it's Louis J. Gomez Industries. Lurkin. Luis J. Gomez. Neff says that's when they knew something happened. Maybe fake story. It's possible. Nephilim Ninja says, I'm still hoping fake alien invasion is next. Enchilaga has been lurking today. Thanks for another great week. Thank you for another great week. A little bit easier now to get through some of this stuff because, I don't spend so much time after work working on the EZR platform. I can actually get up and do something. Dude, my apartment is so clean right now. It's not even funny. Because instead of spending that hour sitting down doing the EZR stuff, I'm up there just scrubbing stuff down. It is so clean in here. Like, there's still some work to be done, but compared to what it was like this time last week, I'm a little blown away and I don't know what to do. I'm a little concerned. I'm a little scared. But it looks fantastic in here. So, yeah, with that, we're out of here for the day. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to go kill the music, not the microphone. Where's my outro music? It's actually a good question. Where the hell is my outro music? Why is that not up right now? Producer Pepe, you're fired. There it is. All right, so thanks everybody who came by and chatted in the live chat, everybody who came and hung out with us on the end there. It was a good time. It was a good week, and we're starting to get some more up here, especially towards the end of the show. We spent the most of the show on 7, and then we jumped up to 12. So I do think that there's some lurkers that we can come back in and address and bring in and start to compete with the AM radio guys. So, and thanks Quest too, by the way, for the nice tagline. Wouldn't you rather get your news from somebody like you rather than somebody in a suit that costs more than your house? Frank Frijole is coming in at the end here. But I am going to head out of here for the day. I might do something fun over the weekend here. We might do some video game stream or something. I mean, it's super nice out, so I want to be outside as much as possible. But I also can't really drive anywhere right now because we got a little bit of vehicle issue that's going to be taken care of on Monday. So definitely come back and check that out and hang out with us. So, for certain, we'll be back here on Monday for more contemporary. That's going to be a for certain because we can do that right from home. I don't need the vehicle for that. So come back and join us for the headlines that we missed out today on. We'll see what kind of fun they have planned for us over the weekend because I'm sure that they can't just let the sleeping dog lie. So definitely come back and look forward for that as well. And we'll be back here for that on Monday for more contemporary. And until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.